We are live on the Virtual Grip Network, and once again, we hop in the DeLorean to travel back to 1966 for this year's YesterYear Tour Modified, where some of the best Tour Mod drivers will compete for one of the most prestigious and unique titles on the iRacing platform, the Old Red Boot. Week 3 is about to kick off, and it's time to put away the sunglasses because we're racing under the lights in Virginia. Race car fans all over the world have been treated to some of the most unique nicknames in all of sport. Think Dick Trickle, Lawless Allen, Worth McMillan, and Coy Beard, but none better than the winner of the classic 1966 race we are running tonight, the River City 100. This driver was born as the youngest and smallest of 3 brothers, so with that being said, they named him Run. And Run Harris went on to lead from start to finish to capture his first state fairgrounds feature in more than 6 years. Run proved it is all about the size of the fight in the dog, not the size of the dog in the fight that day. But before we continue to peel the lid on the 3/4-mile Richmond Raceway, let's do a quick recap of Week 2 at South Boston. Defending series champion Brian Bianchi managed to survive an early accident that saw the leader Jerry Isaacs collected and forced to make a pit stop. At that point, Bianchi was able to focus on getting around Todd Liston to steal the checkered flag, which he hopes will set his season back on the right path. I'm Zach Chapman, a.k.a. Shaggy, along with my partner in crime, J.R. Shepard. We're lucky enough to have the heartbeat of VGN bringing us all of our sights and sounds, the one and only Ryan Seneker. Only one trip to Richmond this season, and it's got all the makings for an exciting fireworks display. 100 laps is not a lot of time, only 75 miles stand between this field and their chance to cement themselves a Richmond winner. Last season, it was Bianchi taking the win, propelling him to the Old Red Boot. Will this racetrack develop another champion, or will it chew them up and spit them out in the tobacco fields? JR, you've had countless laps around this famous racetrack. What can we expect in a shootout at Richmond?
Well, tonight is going to be fun for these drivers in this Tour Modified. Richmond Raceway is a 3/4-mile oval offering a wide range of racing lines. That means that tonight these drivers will be able to move all around this track and search for the perfect line to attempt to make passes. That is what makes this track so great. The driver can make a big difference in finding that speed. Even so, I believe that tonight is also going to be about knowing when to give and when to take a little bit. These modifieds, they provide some big runs and even offer some type of drafting on a track of this size. But if you take that run at the wrong time, you could end up with a damaged race car and an end to your night. There are no fast repairs here. So, Shaggy, that's why I believe to win here tonight, you not only need to be fast, but you also need to make sure that you're making calculating moves out there.
Yeah, now, JR, a lot of racetracks we'll kind of tone down qualifying a little bit, but I think, 100 laps here at Richmond, you have time, but that is not a lot of time. How important is your starting position here tonight?
I think it's going to be very important just because, passing in general is tough on a short track. This track does offer you some options to make passes, but I believe you're going to have to be in that top 10 if you want a shot to be up there. But more realistically, probably top 5 or 6 if you want a shot to win here tonight.
We talked about, we saw it at Sobo a little bit. You kind of contain running that middle high line. You think tires are going to really matter here? Do we take a set maybe with a caution 30 to go, or do we think track position is going to be more important tonight?
In my opinion, I think track position is going to be a little more important, but you still have to take care of those tires. This track is pretty well known for wearing out your right front tire a little bit into turn 3 because as a driver, it's so inviting to dive into that corner and not lift until after you're into the corner, but that starts to provide a push in these modifieds. It does overheat that right front tire. The other thing is off of turn 2, you really have to watch that right rear tire as you're accelerating because the car will get very loose. So drivers have to still take care of their tires, but ultimately I think track position is going to be key.
Yeah, and I think the driver behind that driver getting loose coming out of 2, you're going to have to show some patience. We don't want to see much 3 wide going into turn 3 tonight, JR. Not a lot of room for that, but it looks like qualifying come to a close here. We're getting ready to look at our starting lineup for tonight's 100 laps here at the Richmond Raceway. As soon as we get that, we'll throw that up for you. Here it goes. Look at that popular name on the pole. Tom Ogle starting P1 to the outside, Ken Allen.
Row 2 inside, we got Brian Johnson in the 27 car. Outside in 4th place, Scott Negus.
Inside of row 3, Rex Hoyle to the outside, Bill Martin.
Row 4 inside, we got Daryl Winiger, and outside in 8th place, Brian Bianchi.
Row 5, your point leader, Todd Liston to the inside, to the outside, Jerry Isaacs.
Rolling off in 11th place tonight, we got Ryan Pittman. Outside in 12th place, Gavin Adams.
Jeffrey Harden lines up on the inside of row 7 to the outside, Jeff Lemire.
Rolling off in 15th place, we got Bruce Pearson. Starting 16th on the outside, Torrance Childs.
My teammate in the 71, John Hine to the outside, Alan Wanamaker.
Rolling off in row 10, inside we got Tom Hilbert. Outside, Randy Schuler.
Row 11 to the inside, Brian Neff to the outside, Lowell Jordan.
Rolling off in 23rd tonight, Victor Lane. On the outside of him in 24th place, Steve Hilbert.
Row 13 to the inside, John Hastings to the outside, Mark Fish.
And rolling off, last row of the grid tonight, 27th place, Dave Batone. Alongside him in 28th will be Michael Dow.
JR, I don't know if we could do that again. We rolled through that pretty quick. They haven't even moved yet, man. We're getting pretty good rhythm now.
Yeah, a little bit ahead of ourselves, but I do want to mention, so Tom Ogle up there on the pole, that was a super impressive lap that he put down, a tenth and a half faster than anybody else. So I think this field is going to have a long night ahead of them if they do not fight him on this initial start, because he's going to get away quick.
Obviously, you know, stuff can happen, but do we expect that kind of pace for a long time, or is that more of a kind of, you know, I can do this once and then I'm going to feel it later?
That's a good point, and it'll be interesting to watch, because Tom was definitely fast during practice here. Obviously super fast in qualifying, but yeah, that's always something that you wonder about. Is he just a driver that can put down a fast lap initially or in those opening 5 laps, or is he going to be able to sustain that? And if he can sustain it, it's going to be a long night ahead. He's definitely a top-notch driver. He knows how to get it done, but it'll be interesting to see if some of these other drivers that are very familiar with the modified, if they're able to contend there as we get 10, 15, 20 laps into the run.
And Ken Allen on the outside of the front row. Remember, he's already won this year, won at Daytona. He'd love to get another one. Gonna get another lap to think about it. Wasn't too sure. You know, JR, some of these big mile and a halves, they only give us that one pace lap, but I was pretty sure we'd get 2 here. You know, just 3/4 mile, let the drivers warm it up a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. And, you know, it just, for me, every time that, you know, you have some pace laps, it's just a moment to kind of get yourself relaxed, your thoughts collected, and get yourself focused for what you're about to have to do here tonight. And it's going to be a battle all night. These cars are not easy to drive. Drivers are going to have to stay on top of every single correction that they do with the steering wheel, the throttle, the brake, to keep that car moving straight.
Yeah, you know, I mean, a lot of times, JR, too, you want to start on the inside for the pole, but do you think maybe, you know, Allen possibly in the best spot here, if he gets a good restart, can hold Ogle down? We're going to find out.
Yeah, we're going to find out, but definitely he can be side by side through 1 and 2. He's got a great shot here.
The green flag's high. It's ready to fly. We got 100 laps to play at the Richmond Raceway. Good jump there for the 13, and now Allen, he's going to need to slot down in line. Maybe he doesn't want to, though. Rolls that middle, gets that good run I was talking about, but not going to push it too hard. A little too early.
Yeah, a little bit too early. And, you know, the thing is, you know, I talked about how fast Tom Ogle is, but the draft does come into play somewhat. So as long as you can stay close to that driver ahead of you, you have an opportunity. And we saw there, I believe that was Brian Johnson got a little bit loose off of turn 4. He's got it collected, but moving slow on the inside there.
And he said it, I mean, collected it, but he's lost 11 spots. He started 3rd, back to now back to 15th, make it 12. That's a tough start for him, but you know, we talk about it a lot. It being so early in the race here, you think, you know, he upset the tires too bad, or is maybe that just helping him get him warm and he can come back?
Yeah, that's the thing with these modifieds, is they are super loose super twitchy under cold tires. So you have to remember that when you go green on a restart or the initial start of the race, that this car is going to move around a lot more than it will after, say, about 10 laps. And the other thing, I'm not sure if he did, but one thing to watch is you do not want to touch the apron with your left side tires here in either corner, because it will snap the rear end around very quick on you.
And Ryan had a good view of that. Bill Martin used up absolutely all of the racing surface coming off the 2 there. He got so close to the wall. Now Todd Liston gets in the wall. He's a little slow entering one, and he's going to lose 2 spots. Martin going to get one of those back.
Yeah, he is. And, you know, the thing with Todd, it's very easy, and it's hard to describe to those that haven't driven these cars on iRacing, but it's hard to judge where the right side of the car is on there, and you want to obviously use up all the racetrack that you can to arc the car into the corner, and sometimes you get just a little too close to that wall, and the wall will suck you in, and your tires just, you know, make contact, and you cannot get it off. So that's what we saw there a little bit with Todd, but he's got it back going now.
Yeah, and, you know, not to turn this into a measuring contest, but those F1 guys, JR, they think they got a bad view. Sit in one of these one time. I think your view might be a little harder to see that right front. But right now, Liston, I think after getting in the wall, just trying to nurse that thing there. Going to lose one more spot. But look at Ryan Pittman driving it in, trying to send that thing. He's got it to stick right on that yellow line.
Yeah, absolutely. He's a driver that's got a lot of experience when it comes to modified type racing. I fully expected to see him move forward. You can see the speed that he's able to carry just inside to turn 1 there. So he's got a lot of momentum on his side, and he's able to move around. If you notice, he's not running the same groove as the drivers around him. We look back here, we actually see, I believe it's Brian Neff and John Hine going side by side.
Yeah, John on the outside just trying to collect his thoughts there. Not going to put up much of a fight there in that Bass Pro 71, but, man, the fight's going on there in front. And the Double Deuce, he's got a good view of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing is, you know, we talked about being calculating with the moves that you make. Not only do you have to be paying attention to what you're doing, you want to pay attention to what those drivers around you are doing, because there's going to be opportunities that present themselves, lines or lanes that will open up that you can put your car into and make an easy pass. So you've got to be on your toes here all night.
And Jeffrey Harden, another driver, he just had his hands full off of 2, and now he's got somebody all over the tail tank here. It's these guys, man, for being so early in the run, I think we're starting to see guys. Yeah, I mean, we just got a good view of it, JR. They are slipping and sliding. We are only 10 laps in.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, the track temp, it's only going to continue to go up. Right now, track temp's at 90 degrees. I expect that to continue to go up as we go through this race. And that's going to present issues for you. That's going to start to make your car be a little bit more pushing through turns 3. It's also going to make it a little looser off of 2. And we actually got some action on the front stretch. No caution, but a couple of drivers involved.
Yeah, looked like a little contact there. There was coming out of 4, and good job to keep it out of the wall. That could have been a lot worse than that. Well, you see it get a little air there, JR, and wasn't ready for that.
Yeah, he was all right for sure until he hit the, you know, from the grass to the pavement. It's basically a jump in these cars. They're so low to the ground, that front valence hits and just jumps way up in the air, and lost control a little bit after that, but ultimately able to collect it there.
Yeah, and obviously, you know, we're in the iRacing world here. Scheduling issues happen, but this was kind of scheduled as the first night race this season, JR, and it doesn't look very dark out there to me. Do you think maybe some guys practicing in the wrong conditions, maybe not ready for a hotter, slicker racetrack?
Yes, absolutely. And, you know, I'm okay with a little curveball once in a while for sure. Like you said, these drivers, they expect it to be nighttime conditions. That would have been a cooler racetrack. Car would have handled a lot better, especially from the accelerating standpoint, than what they are now. But this track is hot. I expect it to continue to get warmer. That means these drivers are going to have to adapt quickly. So not only are they going to have to be calculating with their moves, they're going to have to be able to adapt with what's going on out there. And you've called it multiple times. These drivers are moving around a ton right now.
Yeah, and while some other drivers, man, you see Jerry Isaacs, he just sunk his teeth in there. He is quick. He started 10th up to 4th. And, you know, another guy we already talked about, Ryan Pittman there, he is on the move as well, JR. Both those guys up 6 spots. And, you know, not to shoot on the other guys here, but you pass 6 guys up towards the front. That means a little more than doing it in the back. This is pretty impressive what they're doing.
It absolutely is, and you know, where you mentioned the night race, it was planned to be a night race. I believe that the passing would have been more difficult had it been a night race. I believe this slick racetrack is going to open up opportunities for drivers that are okay with the car sliding around and moving around a little bit.
Yeah, you know, definitely gives those guys with the more sensitive right foot, I think, that little bit of advantage. Well, you know, you'd be better to explain it, JR, but, you know, the habit, you want to stop that throttle center off. What happens when you pick up the throttle a little too quick?
Yeah, you pick up the throttle a little too quick, and, you know, it's surprising. You learn real quick, but it's surprising how quick the rear end will come around without giving you any type of warning. And that's exactly what will happen in these cars, and I believe that's probably what happened. We got a caution out now because of it. The 94 here has spun coming off of turn 2. We'll have to see if he had any help involved in that or not. But, yeah, it looks like he was trying to look to the inside here on the 15 and may have just gotten his left side tires, like we talked about earlier, on that apron. As soon as you do, it just de-wedges the car. The car will just naturally spin. You don't have to be on the throttle or the brake or anything. The car will just naturally spin around. And these cars are super low to the ground, so there is a little bit of a, you know, the bottom of the car grounding out on the track itself and actually sliding on a skid plate. So, yeah, that's not what you want to do, but it is super easy to do. These cars are not easy to drive as far as keeping them in the lane that you want to keep them in.
I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and say that the, you know, powdered chocolate was starting to settle and he just needed to shake up the Yoo-hoo a little bit. That's the angle I'm going to take, you know, because maybe Bill, he's going to come in now. He's one of the guys. Might as well, right, JR? It's 1966. Unlimited tires. If you spin, if you're loose, you're struggling, you might as well come in here and get some help.
Yeah, and I think this is a great opportunity for drivers that are fast. The drivers we've talked about that have been able to make passes and come through the field, they know that they can pass, so might as well come in, see what that tire wear is like, because you have no idea what your actual tire wear is. This could be key for them, realizing that later on they may need to make a second or third pit stop in order to go out there and try to win this race.
And you know what? As soon as we see him, or, you know, we'll get him later. I wanted to pull up Pittman. Ryan, let's pull up Ogle real quick here. Hey, Tom, Shaggy in the booth, man. You got a copy?
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, man. Heck of a qualifying lap. Looks like you got a lot of pace. Can we hold on to this thing?
Well, I'm not sure how those guys that stopped for tires are going to make out. It starts to get a little loose. We're about four tenths off of what we were qualifying at, so I guess it's just going to depend on fall off. I think if we get another caution, say in 20 laps or so, I'll probably pit, but because it's wearing the right rear pretty heavy in practice.
You got any knowledge you want to drop, JR?
Yeah, hey, Tom, just wanted to know, you know, we expected it to be a night race. Now it's a day race. Has that changed any of the lines that you're having to run out there in order to make the car work?
You got to hug the line way more. I practiced some laps at night earlier, and you could really, like, late apex turn 1 and get a really good run down the backstretch, but I don't know whether you have less turn in the daylight or what, but you kind of have to do just a normal, like, line through 1 and 2.
Well, hey, Tom, 1 to go here, man. Go get him.
Thank you.
3/4 of the way to go. You got a long way, but you got it.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, Tom Ogle, man, he's a guy, if you don't watch all the broadcasts on VGN, you need to start, because he is a name in that OPRL Cup Series we do on Sunday nights. Tom Ogle is a phenomenal driver and showing his talents once again here. I mean, JR, I tried to, you know, dull that out a little bit. Being a 10th and a half faster in qualifying, that's something. And the green flag's about to wave. He drops the hammer. We're back underway. And good restart, man. 0.3 of a second gap. He's got some time to search a little bit. But boy, Jerry Isaacs, he's wasting no time, JR.
Yeah, definitely not. You know, Jerry, we saw him in the opening race at Daytona having such a strong run, not getting the finish he wants. He wants to make up some points for that disappointment, so he's charging hard right now, and he clearly has speed. We've seen him have speed in every race that we've ran so far.
Yeah, you know, I touched on it a little bit, but, man, it was a heartbreak. Well, he got his elbows out there, a little contact, and boy, man, able to hold on to it. But Isaacs, he's on a mission. You know, last week he was running up front, and we had that wreck in front of him between the lap cars. He was involved, had to come down pit road. That's a big hit in the points. And even though it's not a double points night tonight, you know, only 100 miles or only 100 laps, still, you got to go get them when they're there.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to take every opportunity that you can, especially in a season like this where it's the old school type points, old school type racing. We don't have stage points. We don't have green white checkers. You've got to go get every single position you can because you know exactly when this race is going to end, and you want to be up front. And you also, not only that, but you want to position yourself into a good lane in case a caution comes out. And this is something you see a lot on short track racing, drivers trying to get into an odd number position so that they'll be on the inside lane. Some tracks you prefer that outside lane, but the drivers they do think about that during the runs, exactly where they're at and what position they need to be in, just in case a caution comes out.
No, you're exactly right. I can't tell you how many times that went through my mind last night at Phoenix. You know, that's one of the opposite ones, I think, where you kind of want the high side. You can pinch that guy down through 1 and 2, so it just really mattered. Different strokes for different folks here, but look at the 36. Is that Harden, I believe, taking a peek on the inside?
Absolutely, on the inside of Jeff Lemire there, and he's going to make it work. Look like he may have squeezed just a little bit on the Jeff coming off of turn 2, but that's fair in this type of racing. So he's going to continue to move forward, and we've got a couple of drivers. That's Pittman that we see making moves, trying to come back through the front. He's one of those drivers that pitted.
Yeah, he is the furthest up of drivers who have pitted. Next would be, let's see, Bruce Pearson there in 13th. So right now on the move, if this thing would stay green, which we know these races have a tendency to do, maybe looking good there for the 08. Is he making another move here? And I think the guys see the tire difference. We're not getting much of a fight here.
No, it looks super easy for him. He's doing exactly what Tom did when we interviewed him. He is making sure that, especially entering on turn 1, he is riding right against that yellow line. Now, you don't want to touch it or go below it, but he's riding right on it. And you can see all the drivers that are around him, they're just not able to hold their car down. And as I say that, he's going to try to make an outside line work here.
I watched Mark Martin win many times in that Winn-Dixie paint scheme here at Richmond in the Busch Series. He knew how to wheel that thing, and he'd be making him smile right now. He is quick, but right now the 9-ball of Alan Wanamaker, he had a little bit of a hiccup. They both had to check up, and now you see the 08. He's able to make the move, but Pittman not close enough to make.
Not quite yet, but the big thing is he's going to look, and he's going to make contact with the 30 going into 3 here, and that's going to bring out the caution.
Yeah, I thought he was going to try to get that twofer there, but you know, whatever you said, when I said he didn't have enough room to make it, it looked like he was going to be patient. But then, man, you feel like Superman with the cape on, those new tires, and just not everybody always aware of what's going on. But sometimes that's just the way it's going to be at Richmond. You want that bottom entry in 3, right?
Absolutely, and yeah, it's just a coming together racing type incident, and we can see on the high side up there, Kenny Allen actually getting collected as well. I don't think he has any major damage from that. We'll have to watch and see if he makes a pit stop here, but yeah, he also got collected in this one.
And a tough break there for Kenny Allen as we see a leader, Tom Ogle, coming down pit road. Puts Jerry Isaacs out front. Do we have, does Ryan Pittman stays out? Let's pull up the, or no, actually better not. I always have a rule with myself. I was dedicated to him, but after the contact, I won't. Let's behave. Let's bring up here somebody else with some new tires. Let's go behind him. Let's pull up the double deuce here, Bruce Pearson. Hey, Bruce, Shaggy up in the booth, man. You got a copy?
Hey, Shaggy, how you doing tonight?
Not as good as you, man. I think you and the gang maybe hit that tire strategy right on the head. Can we go the rest of the way on fuel here if everything goes according to plan?
Yeah, I took a little bit of fuel when I took those tires just to be on the safe side, so it should be okay.
Well, you know, I mean, it looks like you and, well, you've been following the 08 around. You guys cutting your way up through the field pretty easy. I mean, do you feel the tire advantage even only after those 20-some laps?
Yeah, you do. So we'll see how long we go. I mean, those guys that just now pitted and got some tires, they'll be a little bit fresher than me, but they're a little bit further back, too.
Got anything, JR?
Hey, Bruce, just wanted to ask you a question based on, you know, you made the pit stop versus the other guys that didn't? Do you think that tires are going to come down and be very important at the end of this race? Do you think it's going to be more about track position?
Oh man, it could be equal, JR, but the guys that are really good at taking care of their tires are going to be an advantage. The right rear's wearing pretty good though, so we'll see how hard you have to fight to get by people. That'll dictate how bad those tires go away.
So are we thinking the 100-lap BRL every Saturday night guys maybe have an advantage here, only one set of tires?
I agree 100%.
All right, well, hey, go get him, Bruce. We'll be rooting for you, man.
Thank you, sir.
Hey, he said it, I didn't, JR.
Yeah, and that is an advantage if you race in a league where pit stops are not really allowed. Not allowed, but don't have tire sets in the pits. So there's no reason to come in and do anything. You've got fuel. You're not allowed to take tires. They have a big advantage because they're used to trying to take care of their stuff and their equipment and getting it to last throughout that whole race. So big, comment right there, and we'll see how it plays out for them.
Pace car pulls off. Wait for the 51 to drop the hammer in the restart zone. He does. We're back underway. Now Isaacs, I think, gotta root for a long green flag run here, JR. Make those guys behind, use up those tires, and maybe if we get one more caution, everybody will need to pit. I think that's got to be the attitude of your Isaacs.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is all about track position. We know he has speed. He's now up front with that track position. And I think in his mind, even if he gets passed by one or two of these guys with the fresher rubber, he's still going to have a net gain. And just like you said, if we get a late caution, then everybody's probably going to have to pit. And you may even get some of these guys that pitted early say, I'm going to stay out, and you're going to have fresher rubber than them. So there's going to be a lot of strategies we're going to have to watch here, but it all depends on whether or not we get cautions in this race.
Yeah, and I mean, even the guys that pit there, you're seeing the different strategies. It looks like Pittman, he is out there running qualifying laps. He's already up to third. He is a rocket ship. Meanwhile, the guy we just talked to, Bruce Pearson, just letting those new tires kind of stick around, hang around that top five, just make sure he can see those guys, knowing he's going to have to benefit here later.
Yeah, and I think it's super smart, Bruce, trying to do that because Richmond's kind of notoriously being known as a track, you'll have a couple of cautions, but then you get really long green flag runs. This is a short race, so we could very well go the rest of the way on green, and if we do, drivers like Bruce that are taking care of that right rear tire are going to have a lot more grip at the end of this run.
Yeah, and I think the old school rules kind of add to that, JR, because, it kind of takes out the old adage, cautions breed cautions. This kind of single files them out a little bit, gives them a chance to regroup and maybe reassess where they were at rather than driving into turn 1, 2, and 3 wide right away.
Yeah, we've got, I didn't know if a caution was going to come out or not, but John Hine did everything he could, definitely showing his dirt track background there, being able to try to save that car, but eventually went around and collected a couple of guys, and I was waiting forever for the caution to come out there.
Yeah, man, two guys that are familiar with each other here, JR. The one pays the other guy's bills sometimes. Little contact there between Lowell and John, and man, was that Negus then who was collected pretty hard? That was a big shot.
Yeah, I think it was, and it's, again, we've talked about it. It's hard to tell on screen exactly where those cars that are spinning are going to go, but not only that, when you're inside the cockpit of these modifieds and you're right behind somebody, you cannot see anything, especially with that air cleaner that sticks way up in the air. So he made a move to try to move out and be able to have vision, and when he moved out, that's exactly when John Hine came back across the track. It's just extremely bad luck there for Negus. He had a lot of speed tonight.
Yeah, and John having to pit at that awkward time. He's going to go a lap down. He's still sitting on pit road. Some of the guys are hopping down pit road, not as active as it has been, JR. We just had that caution a couple laps ago. But at the halfway point, if, you haven't pit, guys like Alan Wanamaker, he's going to come down pit road, get him Victor Lane there in the 10. He's going to come down and get some sneakers. This is, I think, with how important we've seen track position, I don't know if you want to come down pit road here in the second half of the race.
Yeah, it's tricky because you have said it correctly. It's hard to pass out there. You can pass, but it is difficult. Track position is going to mean more, I think, than tires. But if you're one of these drivers that's come somewhere in the middle to back half of the field, I think this is probably a decent time to pick because it's right at halfway. You know exactly what you did to your tires during the first half of the race. You know if you did well enough in conserving them or if you need to conserve them better, so you can come in and get a second chance here and maybe even make up a lot of positions.
Yeah, I'm really kind of, obviously everybody's got their own strategy, JR, but if I'm in that 54 and I see how quick Pittman is behind me, that's kind of a head scratcher for me. Now, obviously, everybody does their own thing, but man, I'd be coming in for those tires because we're, like you said, I mean, we've had 3-4 cautions. This is the third caution, I guess. Not a bunch of long green flag laps, and the cars are struggling, and we still got half the race to go.
Yeah, absolutely, and I'm looking. I expect the track temp to continue to go up, but right now we're staying right around that 90-degree track temp. Now that's a hot track surface, but I've absolutely seen it hotter here at Richmond before, so I think right now the track surface is going to stay fairly consistent. The one thing that I do want to look for, and you can kind of see it on the screen, all those marbles that are up toward the top of the racetrack, that means that this track is rubbering up. So the groove where these drivers have been running is going to start to be a place where you don't necessarily want to run. You want to move up like half a lane, try to find some additional grip, because the grip's going to be where the track is fresher, but you don't want to move so far up that you get into those marbles, and that's a great shot right there going into turn 3. You can see those marbles. If you ever get too wide and you get up in that stuff, your front end is not going to turn.
Yeah, you just pick up all that dust and debris. It'll just develop a terrible push, but we're back underway. Isaac drops the hammer. Lap 49. One lap away from halfway, JR.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going by fairly quick, even though we've had some cautions here. And you can see some drivers moving around, even the ones that do not have a car to their inside. So they're trying to search for some additional grip and see what's working or not working. And up front here, we see Ryan Pittman trying to make that charge on Rex Hoyle. I believe he's going to be able to get there. And he's going to back out of it, be a little bit smart. But that is something you can do in the modified. You can shortcut that front straightaway a little bit and get an advantage going into turn 1.
And while he's got that tire advantage, you got to look for all those shortcuts, little tricks, save up those tires, try to get to the front, keep that tire advantage. But now Bianchi behind him, he won this race last season. Now he's on the move. This is maybe where Bianchi makes his charge here at the halfway point.
Yeah, and he's defending champion, so he knows how to get the job done in these type of races. He knows what it takes. And we haven't talked about him a whole lot, which to me tells me that he's probably taking care of his stuff, and now he's starting to make his way up toward the front.
And somebody we talked about earlier, but not necessarily for a good reason. You mentioned Ken Allen, who's involved in that one accident, picked up a little bit of damage. JR already back to the top 10. He is quick, man. 8th place, making a move for 7.
Yeah, and that, I've seen a couple of things like that out of Ken Allen through the races that I've been able to broadcast and watch him in. Is sometimes he doesn't come through the field very quick. If something weird happens around him, all of a sudden he'll look like he's shot out of a cannon. So that's kind of what we're seeing here tonight. He's moving back toward the front, so he's got a ton of pace that we didn't even think that he really had at the beginning here.
And right up the road a little bit there, 5th place, Brian Neff. Started 21st, up to 5th. He's the hard charger right now. Good run for him. And Brian, one of those guys, hasn't pit yet. So maybe we'll be feeling it at the end. But for now, all good.
Yeah, absolutely. He's made up a lot of ground in this race. Up, 16 positions. That's a lot. I've not seen anybody else on the screen right now that's made up that kind of ground. So big night there for Brian, and right behind him, Bruce Pearson. We talked with him. He's saving his stuff. He's off 9th position right now, but I look for Bruce. He's always been known in the modified ranks as a driver that shows up at the very end of the race. So that's when he will be in his highest running position, is at the end of the race.
I think that dog's the trick. If you're battling with him for 3rd, you don't want to knock that cute little dog off the podium. I think that's the big trick. I didn't mean to give everyone the secret here, Bruce, but I think we've got a little battle brewing up here for the lead too, because Pittman, he is tugging on that leash all over the back now of the 51. May have a lead change here in the next couple laps, JR.
Yeah, absolutely. Like we know Jerry, he's on the older tires. He's been out there the whole time. He's taking care of them because he clearly has pace. He's pulling away from the rest of the field. But Ryan Pittman has more grip, and you see him, he's going to make that dive to the inside there. They almost came together to give each other room, but ultimately Ryan has more maneuverability in his car because of that fresher rubber. It's not necessarily that he's got faster lap times, but he's able to turn that car and put it into places that Jerry just can't right now.
Yeah, I think he scared the you-know-what there out of the 51. He drove up the hill in 3 and 4, and well, that opened the door in 1 and 2. And now Pittman, this is where, JR, don't be modest. You found yourself out front many a time. How do we show some discipline out there? What's the trick to not pushing yourself too far and opening up that gap too big?
Yeah, you're really going to have to watch your intervals, which you can pull up in car and see what that distance is. My preference on a short track is to do everything you can to get close to a half-second lead, just because you do not want contact from behind. Normally when you start saving your stuff, that car behind starts trying to lurch into the corner or try to make a late move into the corner on you. So I like to have close to a half-second gap. Once I get there, I dial it back, and I'm just doing everything I can to maintain that gap and take care of my tires.
Okay, so that's the trick. You don't want me close enough to you that I can move you up out of the corner.
Right.
I got you. Okay. I'll have to try to work on that a little bit. Man, right now, is that Alan Wanamaker looking to the inside? It is. He's one of those guys just pit for those tires and paying off right now for the 9-ball.
Yeah, and that's where I really felt like at the halfway mark, taking the tires versus drivers who have not taken tires, it's going to be a huge advantage just because this is when the tire wear really starts to show up. I know drivers are slipping around and sliding all race, but this far into a run, this is when it starts to show up, and that's why those drivers that pitted look so much faster right now. And a lot of times, like we talked about just a little while ago, it's not necessarily that you're extremely faster in lap time, it's that you can control where your car goes in the corner. You can make it go where they're not able to, and that ultimately allows you to make a cleaner pass.
Yeah, that's a good point, JR, because while you may not have the lap time, with that fresher grip, you can maybe make a move to the inside is where that guy in front of you, kind of has to roll center off up towards the wall, and you're seeing it. I mean, this is how guys are making the passes. That's how Pittman got to the front. Seeing the battle here start to heat up for P2. Rex Hoyle pretty quick in that 54 machine.
Yeah, absolutely. Rex is always a driver in the modifieds when I've watched that is very, very consistent, has speed on each and every type of racetrack, and he's ultimately getting those top 10 positions. So once again, in this series, he's doing similar. He's up front. He knows he has speed because he's in the top 3, but he does have Bianchi right behind him, and I think Bianchi's riding right now, to be honest with you. I don't think he's pushing hard just yet.
Yeah, and which is so impressive. He's another guy has not taken tires yet, but holding toe with these guys. But Pittman doing is just his best J.R. Shepherd impression. He can't get it to that half-second gap, but he's holding them right around that quarter second. I mean, he's just doing a phenomenal job right now.
Yeah, and I think he's comfortable with where he's at. I don't think he's going to do anything to try to pull away much more at this point. I do see his car moving around a little bit more than what I expected out of that fresh rubber, and you can see it from the onboard there. He's actually moving up the racetrack a little bit, and that rear end starting to wiggle some on corner exit. So those drivers that are behind him are probably thinking this is an opportunity in about another 10 or 15 laps. Maybe we can work our way up there. And you see him fighting from inside the car, working that steering wheel on corner exit.
Now you think, JR, that could just be maybe got on the throttle a little too hard, making those passes center of the corner, heated him up a little too much, and now he's playing catch-up? I mean, what's the diagnosis?
Yeah, it definitely can be. If you go too hard too early on these tires, you got to work them in. It's very much like a Formula One car in that respect. You've got to work those tires in. If you abuse them too hard early on, they just do not come in and settle into a position where you can just continue to knock out identical lap times lap after lap. And that's kind of what I'm seeing here is maybe he pushed a little too hard too early. But having said that, it looks like he's, slowly opening that gap back up.
Yeah, and I think if anything, It allowed the second through fourth to tighten up a little bit. We've seen Hoyle maybe trying to make some moves, and Isaacs having to drive a little more defensive now, JR, going a little lower on corner entry. And, you know, you sacrifice that entry, you're going to be fighting to pick up speed the whole way through the rest of the corner. So best thing for Pittman, maybe slow them guys down, have them battle behind.
Yeah, and that's an absolute tactic that you can use when you've got the fresher rubber and you're able to move around wherever you can on the track versus the other drivers. You can definitely slow that pace down, and that's what I always like about being the leader in the race. You can control what kind of speed that you're running, and it's not easy to do, but the good drivers are able to control that pack, and if you can slow those guys down behind you, you can bunch up second, third, and fourth place and really get them racing one another. And in return, it could open up a big gap between you and that second place car.
Yeah, we're coming out of 4, JR, here. We're 3/4 of the way through. We're on lap 75. The pay window is open, and right now, if you're back there fighting outside of the top 10 and you've got fresh tires, you got to go. You can't wait anymore.
No, now's the time to go for sure. This run has shown to be the green flag run that we were talking about that you get at Richmond, the longer run. So at this point, you know there's 25 laps to go. We're coming to the line here. It is go time. You need to go get everything you can, because even if we get a caution at this point, it's not really going to matter if you're way back in the pack. You have no chance. You've got to get some type of position on the other drivers.
Well, you just answered my question kind of, JR, because I was going to say, let's say we get a caution right now. What spot? I mean, where are you willing to come in the pits? Maybe 15th, but here it goes. Isaac to the lead. Oh, he drove that thing wide. He got the elbows out contact.
He did, but that was a nice save by Pittman there, because he felt the contact coming, actually moved up slightly before the contact, and ultimately kept himself out of the wall. And he's battling hard on the outside here, trying to make that move back around Isaacs.
After that contact, how hard do you pinch this guy in? The answer is pretty severely there. You go down below that white line. I'd have done the same thing. Big time move there from Pittman, and man, that may be the move of the race there. But I think Isaacs, you know, JR, we've all been there. Maybe make a little accidental contact. I don't think he made that pass back too hard. Now he's going to come back trying to do it clean.
Yeah, absolutely. He was going to try to, but he definitely slid up, and I think more than anything, these guys are just to the point to where they're racing hard, and the grip is not there on corner entry. The car is just going to move up the track. But this time, Isaac's able to prevail, and Rex Hoyle's going to follow him through. Pittman's going to continue to battle back here, but I think Rex Hoyle's going to have him.
Unbelievable here. 3 of our top 4 drivers have not made a pit stop. The man in third place is obviously that guy who did make the pit stop, but maybe not seeing that tire differential that we thought we were going to see here. Drove that thing hard to get towards the front, and he is sliding like he's on ice. Bianchi to the inside, making the move for third.
Yeah, and I think that just points out that tires are a big deal. You can make passes, and it is an advantage to have the tires. However, you're having to work really hard to make all those passes. He had to come from the way, way back in the field. I believe he was in the 20s after he came out of the pit, so he's passed a lot of cars, but in doing so, he's wore his tires out compared to these drivers that have been in the same position all race, just taking care of them.
And taking a look, you know, this drivers 1 and 2, Isaacs and Hoyle, they just had the quickest laps of anyone on the racetrack last time by. So they've saved the pace in that race car. Very impressive.
Yeah, absolutely. These 2 drivers, they look extremely equal right now. We know Pittman back there, he's still in third place. He's about 3/4 of a second back. The one driver I was wanting to watch for was Bianchi, but right now he's been overtaken by Thomas Ogle. So Tom has moved up into 4th spot.
Great minds think alike, JR. He was on the outside trying to make a pass for third. I had to rewind it for myself. A little contact between him and Pittman, and he went up the hill, and that was enough to move him back to 5th. But it seems like he's got some pace. He was trying to go around the high side, but we saw the battle for the lead earlier. Not easy to do. You can't really expect the guy on the inside to keep it locked down the whole way through the corner anymore this late in the race.
No, absolutely. And, you know, you talked about the pay windows opened up. These drivers are pushing hard as we see Ogle to the inside of Pittman now trying to get that 3rd spot. But, yeah, and you see Bianchi right there, or Bianchi, excuse me, go into the corner really hard and get loose. And that's what these drivers are doing. They're pushing hard the grip level is not there, and that's why we're seeing some mistakes. And unfortunately, it may only take just one mistake for you to get past, and then you're going to have a hard time trying to make that position up. Pittman continuing to fight hard, but see Bianchi there, he's continuing to have that right rear hung out through 3 and 4.
Yeah, he is, man, taking out the laundry there through 3 and 4. But I'll tell you what, you better keep an eye on that third place man, Tom Ogle, because he is coming. If these two guys in front start battling, he's got a little fresher tires than them. Remember, he was leading early, had that good one-lap pace. JR, he's making his way back towards the front.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing about these type of cars, the modifieds, the SKs, or the Tour modifieds, when you get the drivers side by side, oh, Tom gets on that yellow line, gets a little bit loose. That's going to let Pittman get back by him. But once you get drivers side by side in front of you, it slows their lap time down a lot, and you're actually able to get the advantage through the draft to get back up to them. So it is an advantage if you can keep them in your window.
Liston there, it looked like maybe he made a little contact there with the 60. Remember, Liston, your point leader, knows it's important these finishes. He gets himself into the top 10. Not a lot of race time left. And Tom Ogle, my apologies for jinxing you there. I should have known better.
Yeah, he's fallen back now to 4th spot, but he's still within, reach of the leaders, and I think he's going to be able to make that pass back on Pittman. Indeed, he's going to go back to the inside, going into turn 3 right now, so he's getting this move made back again. Pittman's going to pitch him down as much as he can, but Pittman's having to wheel that thing. His car is on top of the track. It is not hooked up at all.
No, I mean, you could see it there. He drove that exactly how he needed to, pitched him down.
Yeah, and on screen we got Bianchi. He has joined this fight now. He's trying to get by Pittman as well. And I really, really believe that Ryan is just kind of hanging on. He's doing a fantastic job because as loose as that car is, he's able to hang on to it. But he is struggling, and these other drivers just seem to have a lot more grip that are around him right now than he himself.
I just made up my mind here. Tom Ogle, if you can get to the front, we're going to smash this microphone and we're going to buy a new one that doesn't cut out all the time. So come on, Tommy boy, I'm rooting for you. Go drive that thing.
Yeah, he's moving. He's about 3/4 of a second back from these leaders.
Leader, get sideways. Look at this. Look at this. Tom Ogle trying to split. Oh, no.
Oh, man. Yeah, Shaggy, all 3 of them just trying to go for it there. They knew it's the closing laps. That was the opportunity. Just all came together. And, man, that's a big, big wreck. Ryan Pittman doing a great job to get by that as well as Bianchi, but top 3 taken out in that one.
Yeah, what a bummer there. I mean, going into turn 3, Isaacs just overdrives it a little bit, loses it in the center of the corner. Contact in there from Rex Hoyle, and as Ogle tries to go in the center, Hoyle's kind of coming up a little bit. They both fight for the same real estate. That's just, you said it the best, JR. I mean, they're trying to win. Not a lot of time left. That's the move you got to make.
They are, and I think from Tom's vantage point, we can't see from inside his car from that view, but I believe he probably thought he needed to get turned down the racetrack, but at the same time, he was carrying so much speed off the corner that the car just kind of naturally went right up into the middle.
A leader down pit road. What is this about? What am I missing here? Why would Pittman come down pit road?
Yeah, that's I don't know. That's very mind-boggling to me because we know that there are no green-white checkers. This race can finish under caution, and there's less than a handful of laps here, so there's just no way he's going to be able to come from mid-pack and get the job done. I feel like he was better off staying up front.
Yeah, I'm literally at a loss for words here because you got to think. I mean, we were watching the same race there, JR. He was maybe the 3rd, 4th fastest car with those guys out of the race. I mean, he was the top dog on the porch. I'm not too sure what happened there. Maybe he suffered some damage driving through the accident, but that's tough.
Yeah, it's odd because I believe Bianchi was the only driver that could really contend with him. He was obviously struggling out there. We talked about it, very, very loose, but yeah, I think there was only one other car that could really contend with him. So I didn't see him get any damage when he went through that, but maybe something happened that we didn't catch on camera, and he just felt like he had to pit if he needed to, in order to make the end of this race.
Yeah, now, guys like Brian Johnson here, Daryl Weininger, Daryl had some quick laps too, but he was back about 3.5 seconds. Wasn't close enough to the pack. So, if sometimes, JR, you can be down, you can be kicking yourself, and then you just get that breath of fresh air pushed into you. And, man, we may have some new guys competing for a win.
Absolutely, and one of the drivers we haven't talked about since the opening laps of the race is Brian Johnson, who got loose early on and fell back, 10, 11 spots. He's now in second place up here, so we've not seen just how much pace he has. He could be someone to contend for this lead when we go green here. And then Daryl Weininger, he's back up toward the front now.
Yeah, and another one snuck up on me there. Ken Allen, too. Remember, he was involved in that accident. We had talked about him getting up back into the top 10. Well, now he's in the top 5, man. And, JR, it's 1966. No more green, white checkers, but we get a real one here. As the pace truck drives off, we're going to have 2 laps to play at the Richmond Raceway. Ken Bianchi, get it done here. Good restart. 0.3 of a second gap here. Johnson's really going to have to swing for the fences.
Yeah, he's going to have to push hard. It's only a couple of laps, so no need to save the tires here. The tires are cooled down a little bit. You are going to be able to drive faster, but it looks like Johnson's going to be under attack going into turn 3.
Yes, he is. Daryl Weininger making the move as the white flag in the air. One more trip around for your leader in the 14. Bianchi looks to have it locked up, but all eyes on this battle for the final podium. Here comes Ken Allen trying to will the 99 on by as we roll into 3 for the final time. Drivers head off of 4. Checkered flag waves. Bianchi gets it done, followed by Daryl Weininger, Brian Johnson, Ken Allen, and the double deuce, Bruce Pearson. Your top 5, JR. You nailed this one. A couple cautions in the beginning. That long green flag run. Then we had a nice little sprint to the finish.
Absolutely, and overall, good race from these drivers. The big mover, or the big driver that I kind of watched for there at the end, though, was Todd Liston, the point leader. He was not up inside that top 10 until the last 20 laps or so, and he comes home in 6th place. So great recovery there. Yeah,
huge, and right behind him, he was leading the Rookie of the Year standings. We'll go through all of it later, but Jeffrey Hart finishing 7th here, and winner of the Rookie of the Year gets invited back to this thing next year, so that is a big deal all amongst itself. But we're gonna let Bianchi have a little fun, do some more donuts, maybe go grab a glass of water, and we'll be right back here on the Virtual Grip Network with your rundown and your interviews from your top 3. Stick around. We're back live on the Virtual Grip Network. And man, Brian Bianchi, Merry Christmas. An early back-to-backer for him. It looked like he was going to have to settle for fourth place, but steals the checkered flag there in a little awkward fashion, but he had to hold on to it there for the green-white checkered. Let's take a look here at the rest of the running order. Daryl Weininger steals P2. Brian Johnson third. Ken Allen, a close P4. Bruce Pearson rounds out the top 5. Your point leader coming into tonight, Todd Liston 6th. Jeffrey Harden 7th. Tom Ogle 8th. Mark Fish 9th. And John Hastings rounds out the top 10.
Yeah, coming home in 11th place tonight, Steve Hilbert. Torrance Childs had come home in 12th. Ryan Pittman, we saw the charge there at the end. Not sure why he pitted, but comes home ultimately in 13th place. Jeff Lemire, he'll come home in 14th. Rex Hoyle ran up front a lot in this race, comes home in 15th place. Gavin Adams, he's the first car one lap down in 16th. Tom Hilbert comes home in 17th place. Randy Schuler, 18th. Victor Lane in 19th. And Michael Dow will come home in 20th.
Rounding out the back third of the field here, Alan Wanamaker comes home in the blackjack spot. Jerry Isaacs, 22nd. Brian Neff, 23rd. William Martin, 24th. Lowell Jewell, 25th. John Hine, 26th. Scott Negus, 27th. And rounding out the field, not even making the start there from what I see, David Batone. But now, JR, this is that moment everybody out there waits for. We get to interview our top 3, and I think we've got Brian Johnson making his way on up here to the booth. Hey, Brian, Shaggy in the booth, man, you got a copy?
Yes, sir.
I'll tell you what, man, an eventful race. We saw it was a sketchy opening couple laps there for you. You got shuffled to the back, but, I mean, how were you able to calm that thing down and get it back up to the front?
It was pretty hairy in the beginning. I had some issues with visibility. That's why I was struggling there. But once that issue went away, the car felt great all day.
Oh, man, it looked pretty good. Were you did you have big eyes there on that final restart? Did you think maybe we stood a chance to go up there and steal that thing from Bianchi? Or were you just trying to hold on?
I'm glad y'all let me catch my breath. I was not breathing those last 2 laps.
Oh, man, I bet. But it was an exciting finish, and, I don't know the best view. Did you have a good view there of the leader incident there with a couple laps to go? Did you get to see that go down?
I didn't quite see the whole thing. Most of it happened before I rounded the turn, but I saw 2 cars down on the inside, and I was like, oh, no, what happened?
Well, that's probably good on you, man. We didn't get to ride on that in-car cam, but I was wondering how close you were to missing the mayhem, but we're glad you made it through, parked that thing on the podium. Great run for that 27. You got anybody you want to thank, Brian?
Thank you. I need to thank my sponsors. I need to thank my buddy Survival Viper, and then also my good friends over at Fate and Chaos, the metal band. They helped me cover my cost to run an iRacing, so thank you very much to all of them. And thank you to Texas Speed Sim Racing for being behind this, and all of you guys in the broadcast booth, and Lowell, and then we got Alan with race control and covering all and putting all this on. I'm sorry, guys, I'm out of it. Thank you so much.
No, hey, heck of a run there, BJ. Congratulations on the P3. I hope we get to talk to you again here soon, man.
Heck yeah, good broadcast.
That's Brian Johnson, our third-place finisher. And now, JR, you get the man who finished P2. We know him pretty well. Who you got?
Yeah, I got Daryl Weininger here. Hey, Daryl, man, congratulations. You started 7th in this race, obviously moved up, finishing 2nd position. I want to ask you, though, how tough were these cars to drive around this track tonight? We saw a lot of drivers with their hands full.
Well, I tell you, we were talking in practice that a lot of us practiced last night with the settings, and it was at night. And when we showed up and the sun was out, I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is a lot different than what I practiced."
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We had a couple of guys mention that to us, and that had to be a little bit of a shock, right?
It really was. It was a totally different experience during the day.
All right, man. You came into this race, I believe, 11th place in points. You're obviously going to move up several spots. You've had speed every time that we've seen you. Had some things not go your way in the season so far. But what are your thoughts moving forward in this?
Well, I I screwed it up last week. I struggled on my restarts all race at South Boston and screwed a bunch of people up, and I really apologize for that. I worked on it during the week. I ran some official stuff and worked on it. I think I did better today, but I didn't cover myself going into one there at the first or second restart. But great league that Alan puts together. This is a lot of fun with the Tour Modified, and you have to have throttle control, and just a lot of fun. We had a lot more green flag laps than I thought we would. So
absolutely. Hey, before I get you out of here, Daryl, got to ask you, next time out you guys go to a track I've had a lot of time at in real life, go to the Nashville Fairgrounds. You guys are going to be doing 300 laps. How tough is that going to be? What are your thoughts? Do you think you're going to have anything there?
So that is one of the tracks I took my dad to 2 summers ago. We watched William Byron win the super late models there, walked around it's so much cooler to go to a track, and then when you race it in iRacing, it's such a cool experience, and I love that track, so really excited for it. So
awesome, man. Hey, congratulations on finishing P2, and maybe we'll get to talk to you again next time out.
Yep, thanks a lot, everybody. Thank you.
All right, guys, that was Daryl Weiniger. He's our second place finisher. Shaggy, who you got now?
I got the man for back-to-back weeks here, Bianchi. Man, how you feeling? You must own Richmond. You won this thing last year. You bring it home again. Maybe a little different style, but rather be lucky than good, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's how it's going to go this week. I really hate it for my teammate Rex Hoyle there. He really should be the one talking to you right now. I mean, he had the really fast car. Some of those guys pitted and he was still in front of them. I was really losing my rears at the end. So, yeah, like you said, better to be lucky than good.
Yeah, we noticed that, Brian. And was it just, maybe you paced yourself a little too fast trying to get up to the front, maybe burn up that right rear? What was the problem?
I was really trying to save, so I was letting off really early all race. And then once you run the outside there, you heat up your tires a little bit, and just a little bit of tire temperature was killing your entry. It would just slide out from under you. So, I tried to save. I didn't pit. I probably should have. But I won last race without pitting, so maybe I won't pit again this year.
Well, that leads me into the next question here. In the next race, you might want to pit here. 300 laps at the fairgrounds. What are we thinking when we head into Nashville? Is that a track Bianchi likes?
I've been good there. Won a couple times there. So yeah, I think we'll be ready, and we'll see what the pit strategy is. It all depends on how much fuel we get. So maybe we can just split it in half. With these cars coming up through the field, when you get in traffic, they're a bear. They kind of push a little bit. So we're gonna try to stay up front, like we've done the last 2 weeks.
Well, hey man, you know the deal. You've done well in these last 2. Daytona kind of shook you a little bit with it being a double points race. Hopefully next week, 300 laps, double points again. You can end on the right note. But it's all about tonight, man. You bring home the checkered flag again at Richmond. Congratulations. Who you want to thank?
Oh, thanks, fellas. I'd like to thank Rex Hoyle, my teammate. He gets me all ready for all these races. He does all my paints. Colony Tire and Service Center, Culpepper's Bakery and Cafe, Zeno's Luxury Jackets, Christina's Custom Cuts, and I had a new sponsor come on recently, Blissful Buddies. So I'd like to thank them for coming on board.
Well, hey, we want to thank you for putting on such a good race every week, Brian. Congratulations on another one. Can't wait to talk to you again, man.
Yeah, thanks, fellas. See you next week.
And well, JR, that's the River City 100. Pretty good racing. We saw the elbows get out a little bit. Saw maybe couple dive bombs going into 3, but I think when you roll into Virginia, you expect that.
Yeah, absolutely. This is the type of track where you expect that short track kind of mentality, even though it is on the larger side for the short track racing. But next time out, we'll go to the fairgrounds, and I expect that to be much of the same, even though it's going to be a larger track as well. It's just a type of track where everybody's always fighting for the bottom. So these drivers, they race extremely hard. They try to give each other a lot of respect out there, but ultimately this is short track racing, and we are going to have that bumping and moving around that we see. At the end of the day, I think they put on a pretty good product for us to watch.
Oh, yeah. Welcome to Friday and Saturday night all over North America here. That is Asphalt Short Track Racing. They did a phenomenal job. And, you know, JR talked about it. We're going to the Nashville Fairgrounds next week, but let's pull it up here because we got a couple-week break in between that. So we're not going to be back until April 22nd, as always, 8:25, right here on the Virtual Grip Network. And the Fairgrounds, well, JR, you talked about it a little bit. 300 laps, though. I think the mindset may be a little different.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to take a lot of patience. And I talked about give and take in the race here tonight, where you're going to definitely have to do a lot of giving in that race if you want to make it to the end. There are no fast repairs. There's no second chance. If you get involved in an accident, your night's over, and that could mean a very short field at the end unless these drivers keep it together and clean.
Well, coming up this Thursday, we've got the Red Light Racing SK Modifieds at Oswego. And, JR, you know I fix on your knowledge a lot, but Oswego, one of those tracks, okay? I'm not downplaying it, but I think, qualifying's got a lot to do with where you're going to finish at Oswego if you can run that track right.
Absolutely, and I do not have any laps around that track, but absolutely what you said, the stuff that I have seen, I think track position is going to mean a lot. Qualifying is going to be super important in that one.
Well, that's going to do it here for the YesterYear Tour Modifieds. Thank you for tuning in to watch the River City 100. It was a good one. On behalf of everyone at the Virtual Grip Network, I'd like to thank my partner, the dude in the back, Brian Seneker, and last but not least, all of you. Have a good night.